This is Tom, the old man of social media. He was there during the wild days of the early 2000s internet. LiveJournal, Friendster, MySpace. Along the way, he's interviewed massive film stars like Keanu, Hugh Jackman, and more. And helped create ad campaigns for Tic Tac, Nutella, Buffalo Bill, Xbox, Foxtel, and V Energy Drink. But when it became more about sales and less about the story, Tom knew it was time to pack up, head out, and find a team that also loves to focus on the narrative. So strap in, because this story is just getting started. My name's Leah Crowley. I am not the old man of social media, as you could probably tell, but he is around. Let's find him.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us today. Very exciting.
First off, what am I supposed to do?
Well, look, it's a big thing. You've got to you need to sit down and have a bit of a strategy, and it's not something you just want to wander into wildly and blindly. Otherwise, you're going to trip up constantly, and you're going to be putting in a lot of effort for not a lot of result. The very first thing to do is to be realistic. And by that I mean, work out what is it that your bosses actually want from that social media presence? What are they trying to achieve? Is it that they want lots of followers, which was kind of the key KPI about 10 years ago. For it was all about growth, getting the most people in. Now it's more about quality of that engagement and making sure that the sentiment around your brand is good and all this sort of stuff. So determine exactly what goals upper management want to achieve, or yourself, or whoever's in charge of this presence. And if you know what you're working towards, then you can make sure that your content's always at least working towards that or trying to achieve that goal, rather than just throwing stuff out there willy-nilly and seeing what works.
So talking about the fact that you can't get millions of followers, like
Yes.
That's not a thing. So how can I, as the brand new social media manager at work, at least create an account that's sort of a living account, like a live account that's interactive and without being annoying to other people?
Look, that's the other part of the strategy. You've got to determine what's your communication style and standard.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to be a page that's responding to people constantly, or are you going to be someone who checks the page once a day, responds to people then, and don't think about it? Both of these are very valid, and they both have their strengths. It depends on the type of company you have, times the amount of communication. You don't need to be checking the page every hour to see if there's things coming through. People are quite understanding as a business that you'll get back to them in respectable business hours. But also, how are you going to interact with maybe your competitors or similar brands or the things that your fans are passionate about? How can you get sort of talking in their space as well? So these are all considerations of how are you going to talk online when you're representing your company.
And in that respect, right, so say you get like private messages from customers or clients or whoever, like just somebody on the internet.
Yes.
I mean, do I have to reply to everyone? And I'm not replying as myself, right?
No, look, this is the wonderful thing with social media. If you're representing as a brand, you don't have to put your name on there. In fact, most of the time it's better not to. There are exceptions to that, of course. Maybe if you're a telco or a bank or something like that, and you're managing customer service on a very micro level, then names work. But the rest of the time, you're representing the company, so you can use we and things like that. A really great way to make it a lot easier for yourself is to kind of think ahead and what are the most likely things that people would come to you with a complaint about. And come up with pre-prepared responses for those. If you need to have management or a legal team or someone sign off on them that they, properly represent the company and things, that's great, because if you get an angry DM at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning and you just happen to have checked the page, then you could jump in there with one of these pre-prepared responses. It calms things down very quickly, and it might just be, hi, Jane, thanks so much for getting in contact, bringing this to our attention. We really appreciate it. It's the weekend at the moment, but we're going to have our team look into it first thing Monday morning and come back to you then. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Whatever it is, things like that. You can write this stuff each time, and that's easy, but it's even easier if you just prepare it and have them, and then you can just copy paste from your phone or wherever you're at, and save yourself a whole lot of stress.
Save yourself from ruining your Saturday morning as well, the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, you don't need to send it further up the chain or something like that. You've done the bit that needs to be handled for now. The communication is received and acknowledged, but processing doesn't need to happen till later.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, that's some good tips already. I hope you're taking notes. If not, you can always ask Tom again later.
Yeah.
hello@socialstorytellers.com.au is the email to go to. Tom, I reckon we should have a look at a different aspect of social media right now.
Look, you got to accept mishaps. That might happen from time to time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Delete it out straight away. No one saw. No one saw. That's the beautiful. No one saw. And if they did, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, they won't be able to find it again. That's the thing, right?
That's right. That's right. Now, look, if we're talking about some real hits and misses, one of the biggest ones I think is trying to be on every platform. I don't think it's something that comes up a lot, and it's that idea of we want to be everywhere where our customers are. You're much better to pick a few and really hone in on those ones. That'd be fair, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It depends on what you are. If you're a news
Yeah, for
service
sure.
and you've got plenty of news, then Twitter, of course, is where you want to be. But if you're a furniture store, then all you get to post about is sales updates, and no one's going to really enjoy that stuff. So that's not the right content. But Instagram is perfect for that because everyone likes to look at the beautiful stuff. It's inspirational, it's aspirational, all this sort of stuff. So you've got to determine what's the right platform.
So you're the voice of the company, but you're not using your voice. So how do you determine the voice of the company on social media? Is that difficult?
Look, it can be quite difficult, but it is really, really rewarding and will pay off in the long term because if all the communication is coming from one particular tone, then that's the tone that customers will come to associate with the company. And I've worked with people in the past, big corporations where we've slightly and very delicately altered the tone that consumers have looked at us with over the course of 2 to 3 years. So it could be a very long-term investment. But I've actually brought in a few visual aids that I'll show you.
Oh, yes, please.
A really great way to determine tone is, you could say we're going to be a bit silly. But silly doesn't really nail it down for anyone, especially if you have multiple people feeding into this account, responding to people or coming up with the content and stuff. So you want to have a little more specific. So what I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go.
Where are you going?
We'll
you're
start
back.
We'll start off with these two. Everyone remembers these fellas from the Muppets.
Yeah.
This tone here is perfectly reactive. You think about these guys, they don't come up with the jokes. They just sit there and heckle everyone else's work. And so there's plenty of companies that's the persona they've adopted. If you think of Batuta, you think of The Onion, you think of The Chaser.
Yeah, right.
Those guys are huge on social media because that's the tone they've got. And everyone that writes for them writes with that tone. They're heckling. Everyone knows there's a joke.
I'm impressed you've got that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Then, of course, you've
my
got
gosh.
my old friend Deadpool. Deadpool is an absurdist, and he is making jokes for the sake of making jokes. And there are plenty of people. This is TikTok. But it's that idea of I'm not performing for you, I'm performing for myself, and you just happen to be witnessing what's going on. So again, it's a very specific tone, but really easy to get your head around that sort of one.
Head around. I like what you did there. Very clever.
Then, of course, there are certain brands that need to be people pleasers. Your telcos, your banks, things like that. Of course, they're a bit more like Dobby, the house elf. Very eager to please, desperate to get approval, this sort of stuff. Not a bad tactic at all if that's, if customer service and increasing sentiment, if that's your key KPI, then that's the sort of personality you want to have. Well, then, my personal favourite, and one you don't get to break out too often, but is Megatron.
What's that? Oh.
He is the exasperated leader who is just constantly thwarted by incompetence around him. There are news services that will take that tone, especially if they're talking about opinion pieces and things like that. And that's kind of the a little more elitist tone that they've taken, but it's one of I'm educated and I'm educating you about things. Why don't you get this already? So the point of all this is to show you that rather than just saying silly, you can actually come up with a particular tone and give it to a character, and then everyone that works on that page will understand what you're going for. It's shorthand, and it means that when you're responding to someone on the fly, they've left a comment, if you are thinking as a character, if you're going to have that tone already, and then that's just going to reinforce the communication from the page.
I also reckon it would probably give you a direction for your creativity to spawn and spark some fantastic ideas, knowing that you are Deadpool what's the Transformers name again?
Megatron.
Megatron. If you're Megatron and you're like, I know all of the things, that that definitely gives you the idea of what you can do. But which kind of leads into my next question, right? So getting creative.
Yes.
How much experimenting do you allow yourself to do with posts on a business account?
Look, that is a fantastic question.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, there is no limit. And I think it's fantastic to experiment with stuff. So I've spent a long time over the years perfecting our ideation strategy and of how we get together and have sessions like this. And it's honestly some of the most fun time of the month. You get as many people into the room as you can. Everyone comes prepared with some ideas. You work out some key topical dates and things like that, and you come up with jokes. Just for an hour, sit around there. What are some jokes? What are some great things? Now, those jokes, of course, you will tone down for going out to the public and putting out in the right persona and things like that. But it will break up whatever vibe you've got in the office that week, because for an hour, everyone gets to jump in a room, have some fun. Pizza is optional but recommended. There's also the idea of, and this is an old, the Imagineers, the creative team for Disney, they put a bowl in the middle of meeting room desks, and that's called the pizza bowl. And if you say the word no or but in one of these meetings when everyone's throwing around ideas and kind of improving, if you say the words no or but, you've got to put $1 in the bowl, and at the end of the meal, everyone buys pizza. It's a pretty good way of keeping it loose, because it's about, there's no bad ideas. There's just ideas that haven't been massaged into being great yet. Is it?
It's very, very good use of words.
Well, you want to encourage everyone, because everyone's got ideas, and it's the execution that helps them come together. When you've got a few people feeding into these ideas, it will work even stronger. There are clients in the past that I've worked for that for each post we're putting out, we would come up with 10 options and then whittle it down and merge things until we came up with the best one. And then there were others that were more than happy to have 2 copy suggestions per post, and whichever one worked best at the time. So it's a real sliding scale, how much resource, how much time you've got, this sort of stuff. But the more you put in the creative process at the very beginning, the better the payoff will be at the end, because it's a stronger idea.
That makes sense. And so these what would you call what do you call them? Like digital strategy sessions?
Yeah.
Like workshop ideas?
Yeah. So
creative sessions?
You've got your strategy session, which is coming up with the plan, and that's
Yep.
the overarching goal. And then you've got your ideation session, which is coming up with the individual elements that plug into that.
Yeah, right, okay. And I know that we have some clients who really enjoy when we all get together with them and just organise that content calendar for that month. It's a lot of fun. We come up with when I say we, mainly you come up with some really wacky ideas that then mold and shape within that sort of hour session or whatever, and are suddenly something really solid and will be the highlight of that month for the social calendar.
Look, for sure. And the idea of you can go too far, for sure, but whatever you go too far, pull it back 2 steps,
Yeah.
and that's probably right.
Yeah, definitely. If you have some really specific questions about this kind of stuff, you can always email us, hello@socialstorytellers.com.au. And if you want to connect, that's a LinkedIn thing.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. The Social Storytellers is where that is our name on LinkedIn. Another great way to get in contact and ask some questions.
I would love to do ideation sessions with people. It's the best fun.
Yeah.
You'll have a blast. And then, of course, we can do the more technical aspects after that. Turning it into posts, helping you prepare your content calendar, all this sort of stuff. Now, let's just, for anyone wondering, we've made up a bakery. We're
Yes.
not picking on someone in particular.
No.
But we've created some fake bad posts.
Yep.
And when these are people that they're having a go and it's great, but we're going to punch it up a bit and improve it. And this is what we talk about with these ideation sessions. If you've got the idea of what you want the post to be, by putting it down in writing well ahead of the time, getting a few other people to chime in, or just yourself the next day, you're going to come at it with fresh eyes. You're going to get different opinions. It's going to be sharper. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to have take a look at these things and make them a little bit better.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, let's have a look at it. It's right next to you, Tom. You scared?
Wasn't ready for that.
So the post is, hey everyone, wasn't it a lovely weekend? Bit hot though. Hot cross bun sale.
Well, Look, the image is very nice. We'll say what's good. The image is very nice, and it's a great sentiment behind it. But there's a few things there. Now, Leah, you come from the world of radio, so I want you to address the first point with that one. What's the thing that grinds your gears about that post?
Oh, so we were told very early on into radio school, you only talk to one person. Because we're not all listening to the radio all at once, and we're not all scrolling on our phones looking at Facebook or whatnot as a group. We're doing it. It's a real solitary thing. So you talk to one person and one person only. Am I correct?
Very much so. Yes, that's what we've highlighted that one there because it's just making it more personal. You take out that, hey, everyone, wasn't it a lovely weekend? That's something that, it was a nice weekend. All right, you're a bit more hooked in there. But that, hey, everyone, it's superfluous. You're talking to one person.
Yep. Hot cross bun sale.
Hot cross bun sale. There's no details in that one.
No.
That's wonderful to hear. Did I miss the sale? Is the sale coming up? Whatever. There's not enough detail in that one.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, this one's probably very similar then. Come along to our bake day sale this Friday. Hot cross buns and choc cake this Friday.
Again, lovely posts. The sentiment is right. What they're going for is right. But people are going to come with questions because, okay, this Friday, do you mean, well, when am I seeing this post? Okay, so it's Tuesday. Okay, this Friday. But if I see this on the Saturday morning and it's still up on the page, there's confusion. How much is the sale? What's the saving for people? What are the normal costs or the new costs of these items? Give a bit of specificity so that way people aren't coming to you with all the questions. That said, people will still come to you with the questions because they don't read the post.
Someone might see this on Sunday after the sale.
So you can go the point of having too much detail. You've got to err on the side of caution, but give the pertinent details. Sometimes put it on the image. If there's lots of text and stuff, put the highlights there, bullet points on the image, and just don't use that font.
All right, so you're not a fan of that font then?
No,
all
thank
right.
you.
Okay, don't worry. It's all right. Well, don't get worried. But I've got a really inappropriate one for you, and I know you hate this one.
Oh, I do not like this one at all. Lest we forget, hot cross buns, $6 for 5, and our Anzac flash sale. Now, I think we all together can already work out what's a bit sus about this one. But as a brand, you don't need to post on Anzac Day unless you are the War Memorial or something like that. Shh. Because you add nothing to that conversation. People are being respectful and pointing out that you're having an Anzac flash sale is not respectful. However, Easter is about the same time, and that's super appropriate for you. So it's more about finding what's the appropriate occasion for you to be talking about. A war memorial is not it. If you made a Ukrainian flag Easter bun like that, no, that's not... That's not representative of a brand. You could talk about your core values, but don't try and leverage events like this.
Yeah.
But just be really respectful. Cultural things, yes. Remembrance, no. So
just don't say anything.
Just don't say anything. You don't need to. You might feel like you need to put out something every day. You don't need to. You got to remember, people on social media, they're there to have a conversation with their friends. That's what they're there for. Anything you're putting up is interrupting their conversation. So it needs to be worth you adding to a conversation because you're interrupting. Yeah. And doing something like that, talking about Easter buns on Anzac Day, that's not it.
Okay. My sister's tan business is doing a great deal on mani-pedis. #NFT.
All right, this one... the intent behind this is very nice, but it's come off wrong. What you want to be talking about supporting local business. We're here. We're very proud to be associated with these people, and they're doing a sale at the moment. And then add the link on this sort of stuff. I don't know you, owner of the bakery, well enough to know who your sister is. These are all superfluous details. Again, it's not really appropriate for the bakery unless there's hey, if you buy 2 dozen, you'll get 10% off. Make a partnership. Also, and that #NFT does not belong there. Don't use rogue stray hashtags.
But it's so hot right now.
It is hot, but you're again going to be interrupting a conversation when someone is genuinely looking for NFT posts and they're scrolling through a feed. They're going to see yours and go, what the and hide it away, and it's not a good look.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of not a good look, check out the Photoshop on this one. Check out D's Buns. Hashtag I love buns. Hashtag BAPS. Hashtags they are...
Bit rude.
Yeah,
Bit rude, that one.
what's going on there? Someone posted that late at night, didn't they?
Yeah, look, this is someone being hip and making a joke, and it's a good effort, but it's not quite the right tone for a business. The hashtags, I mean, they are the shit. As a corporation, as a company, you should not swear on social media unless you are French Connection UK or it's something built into your name that swearing and jokes around that are a thing. Maybe then. Otherwise, it's not a safe space for companies. It's far too casual. And buns should not be spelt with a Z. You are not Ali G. Just don't. Yeah, the jokes are fine. Hashtag BAPS means nothing to anyone in Australia, but BAPS are an English thing for that's.
Yep.
So again, it's just choosing the right appropriate. I don't like that.
All right. Well, it's gone now. It's no
Thank
longer
you.
next to you.
Ta-ta, be gone.
Very, very exciting. Let's get into our final section before our Q&A.
Yes, please.
So the first one I want to ask is, what's more important, likes or follows?
Well, as I said, 10 years ago, it was all about likes. It was about that number of people that have already committed to you. These days, it's much more about follows, because if you get people following you, then you're extending their reach and that sort of stuff. And people are happy being a bit more casually connected these days.
Yeah, okay. So just chill out, boss.
It's not a race to get the most. I mean, if you want to throw a lot of money at the problem, you can grow, but that's just artificial growth. It's not genuine.
okay.
People aren't actually that invested in your content if you're constantly paying to get it.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna be the boss right now, Tom.
Yes.
Why are you not posting every day?
Because it's pointless.
Oh.
And I mean that in the nicest way possible, but no one needs to hear from a brand page every day. That's what I was saying before about you're interrupting a conversation, so make sure whatever you're saying is worth hearing.
Yep.
And if you're more selective, it means that the stuff that you are putting out will naturally be a higher quality because you've got more time, energy, thought to put into each individual piece.
Okay, that's good. And I think probably the final thing we should touch upon before we get into the Q&A.
Yes.
By the way, the Q&A questions are probably more general in nature. If you do want to ask Tom some really specific questions or ask follow-up questions, you can always email hello@socialstorytellers.com.au or go on to LinkedIn, and we are the Social Storytellers. So have a look for us and... Oh, yes.
And if you're really enjoying my stuff, you can hit us up and get a rate card. And we can start talking some business, and I can make it a lot easier for you, and we can have some fun.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. All right, that's great. Lots going on.
You wanted one last question for me?
Yeah, I've only got one more.
Yes.
So the importance of having like that handbook or guideline for social media platforms, if multiple staff are engaging as the company page, like that.
It's super important, and I harp on about having that initial strategy. Part of that strategy is those prepared responses for people online. If there's multiple people on the account, everyone's got access to that document or got it saved with them. They all know how to respond in the same way. There's a consistency of tone. It's really, really important. It can take a day or so to set up properly, but that will pay off dividends. I've set up social media guidelines for people that are still using it 8-9 years later.
Yeah, really?
Yep.
Well, there you go. That's
just update it.
consistency.
It's a living,
that's the time.
living document.
Oh, very good. I like that a lot. We'll crack on into those Q&As because, Tom, I suspect there's stuff that we've forgotten to talk about.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. First one is, what if my boss is hell-bent on posts being straight up ads? I mean, how much should I try to dissuade the idea of social posts being ads? This is a thing that you like to talk about. Not a lot, but you're passionate about.
That is a good question. And it is the reality of the situation that a lot of companies will want to use their social media as an advertising platform. And there are times when that is appropriate. If there is pertinent information, if there is a sale coming up, something like that, you will need to be a bit more and salesy with the language. But that doesn't mean you need to post a straight up ad. You've always got to step back and look at it from the perspective of someone seeing it. Ads aren't that quite often they're not that sticky. So if you can think about it, of how do you come with this and make it more personable? Maybe you can still post the ad as a video, but in the copy above, you can be a bit more human, make it a bit more relatable, ask some questions. Really just look at it of how do you make this palatable and push back where you can, but sometimes you've got to do it. And if you've got to do it, make sure you're sandwiching with much more interesting content around it.
Yeah, nice. How do I report how things are going to the boss? What do they want to know?
So reporting is a really good one. And there are some bosses that are going to want meticulous detail about things. But I promise you, and this is shooting myself in the foot for landing a lot of work, we can put together detailed documents and reports and stuff. We can show you how to do that, and you can come up with a 6-page report. The boss doesn't care about that. If you prepare a 1-page summary based more around sentiment, the feeling of things, how people are responding, that's much more valuable to someone who's probably considering the social media presence of their company for 5 minutes per month.
Yeah, right.
So if you can give them a snapshot of how things went rather than a detailed ream of every nitty gritty that is genuinely unimportant to them, that's going to be much more valuable. You're going to save yourself a whole lot of time and stress of going through back ends and all this sort of stuff. But more importantly, it's going to teach you really succinctly how to explain what content that you've done works and how to believe in yourself for trying to replicate that success again.
Cool. Should I be replying to every comment on our posts? So we talked about replying to DMs or private messages,
yes.
But what about when someone just comments?
No. I generally would think that it's better to answer questions if someone's asking a genuine question. If they're being flippant, you don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone gives a really strong piece of feedback, you can just chime in and say thank you to them or something like that,
Yep.
or even just a like, something like that. But you don't need to respond to every comment that's put up on a post. That's laborious and it really adds nothing. That's not DMs and private messages is a different story. You need to jump on top of those, even if it's just, thanks so much. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, that stuff for perception and your response rates, you do need to jump on quickly. But the public post, no, just pick a couple of great ones. So it shows that you're invested and you care and you do respond to people, but that you're not being desperate and responding to 170 people.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Here's another question. I do understand LinkedIn, but Instagram we post every day and several times a day. Would you not post every day on Instagram? Can you kind of expand a bit on this one?
Sure. Look, without knowing what your company is, what service you provide, and stuff like that, it's difficult to answer specifically. I'd love to chat with you afterwards further about it. But Instagram, if you're posting really beautiful imagery that is either aspirational or inspirational, then yes, it makes a lot of sense to be putting lots of content out there because people are kind of going to look at your stuff almost like a Pinterest board type thing of you're collating and showing off beautiful imagery and giving ideas. But it really does depend on what your product, what your service, what you're trying to achieve is, and what's the return on that investment of coming up with that much content. You know, is there someone who's specifically finding that, sourcing that? Are you just sharing memes? Who knows? Yeah.
All right.
Love to talk about that one afterwards.
Okay, so hello@socialstorytellers.com.au is where Tom will be replying to emails over, well, whenever you send them, and also on LinkedIn as well. The Social Storytellers, go and jump on there. One more question. You happy with that?
I'd love one more, please.
All right, one more. Better be a good one. No pressure. Do I post a piece of content on all platforms? That is a good one. I'm happy with that one.
That is a good one.
That is a good one.
Look, it's going to depend on what the content is, but more importantly, you're going to need to change the tone of the post for the different platforms. And by that I mean, we've all seen the pictures of how someone behaves on the different platforms, and it's one actor and they're using them across different things. It's entirely true. So LinkedIn, you're being, corporate, you're being very business, you're putting your best foot forward and showing off that way. Instagram, you're trying to show off how cool you are and how great life is, and it's that sort of air. Facebook, you're behaving because mum's watching. If you think about the different platforms that way and you adjust the copy to suit, then you can still use that content across stuff. Of course, Instagram's got a 1 minute limit on videos and things like that. So there are different technical aspects and considerations for the different platforms, but it really is what's the content, what's the tone, and sometimes some stuff, will be great for Instagram and not suitable for LinkedIn, and that's not a problem. You don't need to post to every platform every time. You can jump around.
Yeah, move it around so that your biggest fans will know where things went. Yeah. Tom, this has been a lot of fun.
It sure has. Thank you, everyone, for coming
Yeah,
along. This was
this has
our
been
inaugural webinar about this topic, but I'm very keen to do more. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. As I said, I would love to talk with plenty of people about making social media a bit easier. It is a very stressful thing, but if you pull back and take a deep breath, you can see that you can actually have a lot of fun with it and take a lot of the stress out.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you do want to ask Tom some extra questions, I know I've said it a few times, but hello@socialstorytellers.com.au. You can also, Tom, I believe that's where you can ask for the rate card.
Correct. We've got the rate card ready to go.
We will be back at another point in time with part 2, because I think we've only scratched the surface.
I think
with
so.
this
And we've
one.
got some great Q&A questions coming through that's already got my brain ticking over if we could do a part 2.
Yeah.
Make
okay.
it even easier.
All right then, Tom, to sign off, can you wave erratically, please? Oh, it's so good.